Hi everyone, my name is Kamran Soul and my ID is 230953665. This is my ID. Now today my topic is career duties and immunities under the Hughes by rule. Introduction. The legal framework of international maritime shipping is defined in the Hughes by rules which deal with the right and duties of the career and immunities applicable to them. Therefore, when discussing such rules on a deep level, we need, for example, to consider how they are practically used, the balance they are created between the interest of the carriers and shippers, and how much rules may involve under the modern maritime challenges. This discussion is not only going to explain the career and duties and immunities described in the rule, but also to point out how it come to be and how this is affecting global shipping practice. Career duties. Duties to provide a seaworthy vessel. The carrier must make the vessel seaworthy before commencement of the which Article 3 Rule 1. In other words, the ship must be suitable for the use of air which it was built and for which it is properly maintained, and capable to carrying the kind of cargo it is destined for. In addition to seaworthiness, it also involves making sure that the vessel not only looks like it is seaworthy, but is indeed seaworthy is handled to condition of the which to poor the air and sea conditions, and some special requirement of the cargo. Suppose the vessel is carrying hazardous material, then the vessel would have to be protected with appropriate safety measures. This carrier can be found liable for a type of the loss or damage, provided the carrier has failed to conform to its duty of seaworthiness. This duty has, however, been constantly emphasized by a court, especially in cases such as the European 1975, when due to the carrier's failure to maintain the worthiness, a large loss occurred. Duty properly to load, handle, and carry and discharge cargo. In Rule 2 of the Article 3, a carrier is responsible for seeing that it is properly loaded, stored, and discharged without hazard. Amongst these, the cargo has to be surely assured so that the cargo does not get shipped during the voyage, as this may cause damage or loss. Duty to issue a bill of lading. And for the article emerges the requirement of the bill of lading, such which the carrier must provide the shippers and during the vessel cargo loading operation. A bill of lading function as a ship which validates the carrier shipper's contract for moving the freight. A ship functionated as evidence, and it holds critical importance to resolve contractual dispute through its description of contractual terms and conditions. The document defines both carrier obligation and party risk and liabilities. Duty deliver cargo. After the ship finally reaches the definition destination, the carrier has to make sure that the cargo is delivered to the consignee in the same condition as when it was loaded. Under the Article 3, Rule 6, this is the duty. However, under the Ujvis by rule, there are exemptions to the carrier liability, carrier immunities. The rules impose upon the carrier several responsibilities but also contain several immunities, and the exceptions which protect the carriers from liability is given circumstances. These immunities are important precisely because they guarantee that people who are carrying will not be punished for a condition over which they have to no control. Exceptions for unavoidable accidents. Article 4, Rule 2. Probably the most valuable immunity available to carry is, according to which by rules, is the immunity of unavoidable accident. Included are natural distorted, there is a storm and earthquake, and a extraordinary event in the form of the act of war and privacy terms, or any other extraordinary events. When such an event causes damages to cargo, regardless of the carriers is liable for the cargo damaged. For instance, it is a carrier vessel wind up sailing into a very bad storm, and the bad storm does some damage to the cargo. Then the carriers can invoke this immunity to lead lack of the fault because it was beyond the carriers. A limitation of liability. A limitation of liability is another key immunity for the carrier among the other things. These rules provide the carriers protection for a limited liability for damage for or loss of good to a certain amount, depending on exceptions. For example, on the value of the all of the goods involved in the cargo transport as freight of shippers, such as limitation protected the carrier from loss approaching the amount of the insured business and is not unduly burdensome of the carriers when loss event occurring, even though caused by the carriers, might not have been prevented by a reasonable effort. But in today's world, the greater value of the cargo, this limitation limit may be too low because some article argue that economic condition have been modernized and the limitation should adapt accordingly is some are critical of the other economist theories. Yeah, exceptions of liability. Yeah, Article 4, Rule 2. Less exceptions exist apart from the one definition in the Hughes by rule. The Hughes by rule allows exceptions for three types of damage contact or to cargo nature. War condition and vessel navigation flow. This provision protect carriers significantly, but significant simultaneously protect them from legal penalty when they are out of the control. Conclusion. The duties are and immunities of the carriers are balanced out according to the Hughes by rule. In effect, they adopt certain critical responsibilities on the carrier. For example, the perform proper loading and handling and delivery of the cargo in the same condition as loaded at the same time. They save carriers from liability in situations in which they are not at fault, such as force measures, accident, or events. Understanding these duties and immunities is essential to protecting the interest of cargo owner, and the carriers can be informed about their responsibilities and the extent of their immunities by both. This is my assignment about the international commercial law. Thank you very much.